It's for you. So good. Hi everybody, my name is Eunjo Park, Executive Chef at Momofuku Kawi in New York, and today I'm going to show you how to make a delicious Korean soy marinade. I'm going to also show you 3 dishes that you can make from the soy marinade. Spicy chicken stew, stir-fried rice cake, and marinated steak. Okay, let's get started. Alright, we're going to start this awesome soy marinade recipe. I'm just gonna go ahead and blend pineapple with onion, garlic, ginger peeled, and then cut into thin slices that are against the grain. So when you puree them, you're not gonna get a thin hairs of ginger. I use frozen pineapple and I just defrosted it. You can definitely use fresh pineapple. It has an enzyme that breaks down protein, so it's gonna make our beef more tender. And I'm going to add little soy sauce so it's easier to blend. I used Momofuku soy sauce, but feel free to change it to any other soy sauce or even tamari if you want to make it gluten-free. Other than pineapple, you can use other fruit that has enzyme to break down the protein. Kiwi is one of them, and Asian pear they're in season right now, and I highly recommend. You don't want to blend it too long or they're gonna get foamy. So brown sugar, sesame oil, black pepper, rest of the soy, corn syrup. Mix well, refrigerate until we're ready to use and it's ready to go. Now the soy marinade is made, we're gonna go start the first dish, spicy chicken stew. I have oven preheating at 375 and I also have a cast iron pan that's getting heated up with little oil. So we're going to start by searing the skins first. So I'm not gonna season them. So when they're nicely golden, I'm gonna flip them. The chickens are nicely seared. I'm going to pour the chicken stock, soy marinade, ginger, gochugaru, dry chili flake, and gochujang, it's a fermented chili paste. So it's at full boil now. I'm gonna skim off one layer and then we're gonna put a lid on and put it in the oven for 1 hour. Okay, so chicken has been cooking for about 1 hour in the oven. And you could tell when you poke the chicken, it comes right off. It's cooked till tender. So these are all good to go. I'm gonna add my vegetables. Sweet potato, carrot, and onion. But you see how liquidy this is. So I'm done with the oven. And from here, I'm going to cook it on a stove top. With the lid off, just until the liquid starts to reduce down. I like to put the vegetables underneath because the chicken's cooked already. Spicy chicken stew has been cooking about 30 minutes in the stove. You see that liquid is starting to thicken a little of the sweet potato that's in there. Garnish with some scallion, sesame seed. This is what you want. It's not as spicy as it looks. It's sweet enough and not spicy enough where kids can enjoy it as well. First one is chil noodle. There's so many different varieties of chil noodle in Korea. One of my favorite is naengmyeon. It's actually a northern style chil noodle, icy beefy white kimchi broth. It's so good. I had it for the first time when I moved to Korea a few years ago and it blew my mind because it was so elegant and so subtle. Second one, raw seafood. Like Japanese do sushi, Koreans call it hui. Koreans love to eat raw seafood also. Take the raw and then cure it or ferment it. It's so delicious and there's so many options of the raw seafood too. And finally, it's an ingredient, but I would say perilla. Everyone knows sesame oil, but not many people know about toasted perilla oil. Koreans usually don't cook with sesame oil. It's actually used as a finishing oil. But with perilla, you can cook with it, and it's so good when it's freshly toasted and pressed. You could just smell it from miles away, and it's so nutty and savory. Okay, moving to next dish, we're gonna make a stir-fried rice cake that is an inspiration from GOCHUJANG Tteokbokki. GOCHUJANG means royal, and that's where the rice cake started back in the day in Korea. Usually soy and a sweetener, and there's no gochugaru, and it's stir-fried or cooked in a sweet marinade, just boiled together. But today, I'm gonna change a little bit. This rice cake, I bought them frozen and I defrosted them, and then they're long cylinders, so I just cut it into a bite size. So oils are getting hot, and then I'm gonna drop. Once they start to crackle a little, you can go ahead and drop the rice cakes. I'm cooking them with some space in between because they do puff up and they're gonna stick together. So you wanna try to keep them separate as possible. I definitely recommend pan frying the rice cake, not frying them, because if you submerge it in the frying oil, they will pop. And then I've seen some videos where it pops everywhere and people hurt themselves. So they are toasted all the way around. Feels crispy, and I know if I push it, it's soft inside. I drained off the rice cake, reserving just 1 tablespoon, and with the remaining 1 tablespoon of oil, I'm going to saute the vegetables. The vegetables are pretty thick, so when I cook them, they don't just wilt and soft. I do want some bites in them, so I'm gonna cook it fast and a high heat. I'm going to start with mushrooms, shishiro, and garlic. Feel free to change and take out any vegetables you want to. So once they start to color and becomes nice and fragrant, I'm going to add onion and scallion. Remember, we're not cooking this all the way. At this point, I'm going to add back the rice cake. This is an optional, but I'm going to deglaze mirin. When you don't hear the sizzle anymore, we're going to add the marinade and extra honey. You know what? I'm going to add a little pinch of black pepper too. Tossing everything to incorporate the sauce. They become glazy and glossy. And it's ready. So good. It's a flavor that a little kid to elders that can enjoy it. And if you want to serve it to kids, feel free to take a shishiro. This shishiro is a little spicy. It's delicious as vegetarian, or feel free to add other proteins to make it extra fancy. The texture of the rice cake makes the dish, I think, and the sauce, of course. Pan frying makes it super crispy, but once you pan fry and then put back the glaze back and cook it together, it becomes almost that chewy, I would say like a coating. The texture is so much fun to eat. I'm actually born and raised in Seoul, Korea. My family decided to immigrate to States when I was about 12 years old. You know, as an Korean immigrant coming to home, you're most likely to eat only certain food, and it was always Korean food to me. Koreans is all about jang. Jang means fermented sauce. So there's gochujang, which is the chili paste, doenjang is the soybean paste, and kanjang, which is the soy sauce. That's the main thing you'll see, definitely see every Korean kitchen. I think by that time I was 8th grade in middle school, and I had my first home ec class, and my teacher, and she taught me basic American dishes. It opened my eyes into another world and something that I've never tasted or seen before or smelled before. It's like half and half, how I would see myself, half Korean or half American, and that's also kind of like how Kawi became. It's either Korean or nor American, and I think that's the beauty of it. For the marinating grilled steak, I do love grilled steak because it has so much flavor and it's so easy to cook too. I'm just gonna lay it flat. I'm just gonna pour them, make sure they're all submerged in the marinade, and then we're gonna marinate them about 3 to 8 hours. You have to remember there is a natural digestive enzyme here, which is a pineapple. So you don't want to marinate over time because the protein will actually break down and become very soft. After they're put in a marinade, I'm gonna keep them cold till we're gonna grill them. It's been in a marinade for about 8 hours, and then I pull them in the fridge to bring to a room temperature for about 1 hour. I actually don't have a grill, so I'm just gonna cook it in a kesari today. Put very little oil, about a tablespoon or so. I mean, I'm sure you heard kalbi or bulgogi. It's actually soy marinated beef, but just only difference is cut-off beef. Kalbi is short rib and bulgogi is usually thin sliced ribeye. So feel free to change it to ribeye, chuck flap, even hanger steak. Just I would marinate a little longer so they're not too chewy. So pan is hot. You could see the smoke starting to rise. Grilled steaks are usually thin, so you do want higher heat. Flip it constantly and then take it off. Alright, I'm going to take it out now. As you can see, the grains go this way. So I'm going to cut this in half and then rotate it, and then I'm going to cut it against it. And simple like that. So I'm gonna make a Ssam, which literally means a wrap. I have a spare steak. Ssam, which is a fermented soybean paste mixed with gochujang, some pickle, slice of raw garlic, and jalapeno. So much flavor in there. Dark umami steak with light lettuce, raw garlic hits the punch of the jalapeno, and little spicy ssamjang into a meal itself. So it's ready to go. So hopefully watching this video you learned that Korean food is actually very simple to make. Don't be afraid and don't be shy. What are you going to make today? Please comment below and like this video and subscribe to Food and Wine's YouTube. And thanks for watching Chefs at Home.